Finally today, we're going back in time for a special history lesson on Oklahoma wheat research. Here's Sunup's Dave Deacon.
In 1892, the first agronomy researcher in charge of the Oklahoma Agricultural and Mechanical College, Alexander Magruder, started a little experiment that's been tested by time and continues to this day.
Well, the Magruder plots are the most significant agricultural experiment that we have here at Oklahoma State University and a large part of the United States. This is the oldest continuous wheat plot in the Great Plains.
The trial was first started on a single acre where there was no fertilizer added to wheat, just to show producers in the 1800s it was good to apply some form of fertilizer. What would happen that we can actually pull down our soils to the point where we aren't producing.
And this was about the original location of the plots. But the university thought that they should grow a building where they once grew crops, so they moved the plots about a mile west, which was not an easy undertaking back in 1947. But fortunately, the experiment kept running with very little disruption.
Soils were excavated about 15 inches or so. So the soil was deposited back into the same treatment areas.
We have a manure application which gets enough manure to supply 4 years of nitrogen to an average wheat crop of the region. We have a check plot that has not received any fertilizer since the soil was broken out in 1892. We have a phosphorus only treatment, a nitrogen to phosphorus, and potassium, and then a nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium that is limed when the soil pH drops below a level of 5, which we've had about 2 lime applications since the beginning.
And when the wheat is growing, you can see a difference. And at the end of the season, there is a difference in yield.
These plots are amazing. The check averages 16 to 17 bushel over the last 10 to 20 years. The fertilizer manure averages 30 to 40 depending on the year, depending on the season. I've personally cut a 27 bushel wheat crop off of the check in 2008. The rest of the plots cut 50 plus bushel wheat. So amazing year, but still it's amazing to imagine that after 100 years, over 100 years of growing continuous wheat without fertilizer, it cut almost 30 bushel wheat.
With over a century of science in this ground, the Magruder plots have helped Oklahoma State University scientists with improvements to varieties of wheat that are grown all over the southern Great Plains.
When I'm traveling out of town, particularly when I go to Washington, D.C. and talk on behalf of the wheat industry and the wheat research community, I talk about these Magruder plots being here at Oklahoma State University to indicate the commitment that we and other universities in the Great Plains have to wheat research. This is just a one-of-a-kind type experiment.
And these manure plots are not applied with a spreader. We get out with 5-gallon buckets and cordon off 10 by 10 foot areas and apply to make sure that that application is perfect on a small scale across the plots.
You have a snapshot view of those modern agronomic practices up against next door to practices that would not be practiced today. And so we have an immense opportunity here to look at things that we have not looked at before in terms of gluten characteristics, maybe digestibility of the gluten.
You've got to wonder how long Alexander Magruder thought his experiment would last. 120 years later, it seems that his vision of continuous planted wheat is still showing its impact on agronomy across the world, especially in the fields of the plow-broken prairie of Oklahoma.